Hi, how do you take care of yourself? What about your team? How do you like to care about your team's well-being and mental health? The Future of Workplace 2021 HR Sentiment Survey in the Forbes reports that 68% of senior HR leaders and 40% of CHROs rate employee well-being and mental health as a top priority. Yes, the corporate well-being market is now estimated to be $20.4 billion in the United States and is forecasted to grow to $87.4 billion by 2026. The question is, what is really working and why is taking care of our people hard work? Hi, welcome to Dear Workplace, where we study changes, trends, and challenges in the workplace. I'm Monica Kang, founder and CEO of InnovatorsBox and the host of this podcast. And today, I'm excited to explore all about how we rethink well-being at work as a person and for our team.
But there's 40 hours in a week, and weeks turn into months, and months turn into days. And that is a life. And then a life needs to be meaningful. And I want them to have meaning and to be able to look back and have these phenomenal memories and experiences and to help them grow. I don't want it to just be a 9 to 5 and a paycheck. I want it to be a growth and a development where they can be like, okay, that was worth it. I was meant to be there. I wanted to be there. I was a part of it for a reason.
Having somebody there to listen to you and then ask powerful questions, insightful questions, I think that's completely worth any investment. All those people's lives that you're going to impact, the trajectory of your company, that is completely worth it, in my opinion.
As we reach the end of the year and 2 years of working in the pandemic, these questions on well-being at the workplace are becoming even more important and timely. Today's conversation is even more timely as I'm preparing this show in between a couple of restless nights and insomnia after being stressed about all the deadlines and projects to finish towards the end of the year and prepare for the new year. Yes, I'm human too. I have my ups and downs. So whether you take good rest and care of yourself and your team or not, today is a good reminder of why this is so important and how it's time we rethink what it means to think of the team's well-being in the workplace. Yes, that time of keeping your personal stress or emotions outside of work is old school. But how can we do this better beyond just talking about it or asking how you are feeling to one another at work meetings? On a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate yourself and how well you take care of yourself? 10 being excellent and 0 being not so well. Honestly, most of us will have a different number every day because no matter how much we try or intentionally engage, some days we're just not able to feel fully ourselves. The key is what you do when your number are below 5. Do you wait until someone notices? Do you pick yourself back up and give yourself space to process it? Who helps you stand back up again? But it's one thing to know about how we take care of ourselves. It's another to think about our team. Our team has multiple people with different feelings, interests, different styles, and needs. Where do you start with how you support them? How do we know what will work well? When I asked these questions to a few leaders today about how they take care of themselves and their team, they reminded me of how important the intention is.
I'm inspired every day that I walk in the building. People think of the military absolutely as, hey, they have signed their life basically on a blank check to the United States of, hey, this is my life. I'm putting it in your hands. They may or may not take that check. That is something not any other profession asks for. So I take that very seriously, and that I work with incredible people that are making the biggest sacrifice you could ever possibly even ask for.
Meet Jackie Leeker, the Deputy Director of the Public Affairs at the United States Forces Korea in Seoul, South Korea. Jackie not only thinks a lot about her team, but she also does a lot for them. Serving this role, especially during the pandemic where most of the public affairs work had to go hybrid, meant that a lot of her and her team's work had to adapt and evolve. And as someone who deeply cared about her people's well-being, that meant how she expressed care and empowerment to her team had to change. Yes, the in-person team building or get-togethers over meals now became virtual workshops and interactive resource sharing in team meetings. But most importantly, she says it's really where your heart is. Is the care you want to provide rooted simply for your organization's success or really for their well-being? Jackie said first, look at what your people really want as a full person, not just professionally. A lot of her people and others like her are making a sacrifice to serve in those roles to work abroad, away from family and friends. How can she help them grow by being here as a team?
So there are GS civilians in South Korea that have moved, and this is all over the world, not just South Korea, but the ones that I work for have moved halfway or all the way across the world. They're not near their families. They are far apart. They have a lot of things going on that they're dealing with personally. So it's not just the profession, but I look at them as people. And the Department of Defense does this great job of you get to experience some of the most phenomenal leaders. And because you get such varied experiences, you get some of the not so good ones that you get to learn from. So I took some of that and I said, hey, work it's important. The mission and being here, it is so incredibly important. This combined defense of the peninsula, this alliance that we have. But there's 40 hours in a week, and weeks turn into months, and months turn into days. And that is a life. And then a life needs to be meaningful. And I want them to have meaning and to be able to look back and have these phenomenal memories and experiences and to help them grow. I don't want it to just be a 9 to 5 and a paycheck. I want it to be a growth and a development where they can be like, okay, that was worth it. I was meant to be there. I wanted to be there. I was a part of it for a reason. And so looking at that concept, I thought, okay, how can I bring meaning?
How could I bring meaning? Yes. How often do we honestly serve from this lens? How often do we really ask our team what care, support, and well-being mean and look to them? And yes, I understand what you may say next. Not enough time, resources, or budget. But hey, when there's a will, there's a way. Which is how even Jackie with a tight budget working in a government still finds ways to support her team in a caring and thoughtful manner. Here are some suggestions she shares. Get ready to take notes.
So budget constraints, sometimes COVID-19 certainly impacted us. But if you have budget constraints, if your team is already together for weekly staff meetings, we just add maybe 20 to 30 minutes at the end of every meeting. And it can be hard skills or soft skills. So, hey, here's a bunch of cards for photography. Everybody go out and take some photos tonight and we'll have a team competition. But hey, let's talk about leadership framework. Where are you as a person? Where do you want to be? What are the barriers that are preventing you from getting there? And then, hey, can we talk about education or professional development? And it can be personal goals really too. If they want to go run a 10-miler, hey, are you working too much? Do you need to go run a few miles after work to relieve that stress? So it can be just regular training, and that brings the team together. And they also provide the training, so it doesn't have to fall on one person to do it all. And then they all support each other. So they show up for each other because they know how much work goes into it. Another part that we really enjoyed doing, and this is our annual evaluations, like people cringe. And it's this horrible system, but I take it as an opportunity because to me, it's one document that shows an entire year's worth of work. But I use it as an opportunity to get to know them and ask the questions of, what do you like about your job? What do you find challenging? How can we make work more fun? And you'd be amazed at the responses that they give you. And that when we incorporate that, and how much more drawn in they are and engaged they are and more fulfilled that they are. And their ideas that I don't need to have as a leadership, like the 22 of them are way smarter and combined. And I do way better hiring people that are smarter than me and do have all these skill sets that I don't, because they bring so much more to the team than I do. So evaluations don't sound very exciting, but they're a great opportunity to get to know and sit down. Hey, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? What training? It doesn't have to be public affairs. If it's public affairs, that's great. I want to help you achieve that. And then give resources to them. And then they provide feedback to me too. Hey, is there anything going on the team that I don't know about, that I need to know about? Is there anything that I'm not providing you that I should be providing you? Is there information you're not getting? So it gives me some really good feedback too as a leader, and a safe space for them to kind of share that information, because maybe sometimes we don't create enough of those opportunities to give that feedback to leadership, where maybe the whole team is feeling a certain way, but we don't create that space to give that. And I think for me, it's a great opportunity to say, okay, I have given this direction of where I want to go as a public affairs team, and we didn't quite get there. So I'm going to take this mirror and turn it around and be like, okay, what did I not communicate? What was not clear? What were the expectations? And it's a leadership issue if the whole team didn't get there very clearly. So there's a lot of, I think, small pieces that I look at a little differently than people would normally think of for a DoD mindset. But again, it's like the biggest employer in the entire world. So I run into people and get mentors and walk across the hallway and get inspiration from them too, and find trainings and ideas. And the Department of Defense is filled with amazing leaders and inspirational people, and not just leaders, but every level of people that are looking to do better and to change the culture in really great ways.
So many gem insights and a reminder on framing. Did you jot it all down? Here are a few things I wrote down for myself too as I was re-listening to this conversation as I was preparing the show. First, budget constraints aren't the barrier to successful team building. You can embed it within your existing routine. This is what I often found to be true in my team building too. Hence, why I recommend it to a lot of my clients that I coach and work with. Build in team care, team development, and creativity time within your work routine instead of feeling like it's a separate time you have to do. Second, team care and team development doesn't have to always be about work or just about work you do. Make it fun and mix it up. Have different people lead to divide up efforts. Third, make feedback sharing and evaluation an opportunity to learn about them as a person instead of time to criticize. Fourth, if something is not working well, turn your mirror and look at yourself to see what you could improve as a leader and how you lead the team. And lastly, look for mentors and inspiration everywhere, both within and outside your organization, and not just in leadership roles, but everywhere. The more we learn, the more we could find how we could serve others intentionally. And this isn't just Jackie who feels this way. Bonnie Kim, a serial entrepreneur and a coach in LA, shares the most important element in how a leader could do better team well-being and team development is having a better understanding of oneself as a person and a leader. Yes, self-awareness is important. Without it, you may not even know why your team is struggling or needing help, nor how to support them. Ouch! That's a lot of signals you are misreading as a leader.
I think, if anything, if I could catch all of these attributes that I want to put into one direction or one actionable item, is to gain as much self-awareness and improve yourself on that. Because empathy comes from having self-awareness and working towards building and connecting with someone. Vision casting to inspire your team also comes from self-awareness. You can vision cast all you want for quarter 4 when it's quarter 1, and the team will not be on board, but to you, they may say, this is awesome, great, but inside, they're confused. But if the leader is self-aware enough to know, okay, these are my tendencies. I tend to go 150 miles per hour. I tend to not give any context to my team. And I keep hearing that my team is struggling, but this is just the way I am. Well, that's not very helpful, right? Developing self-awareness and then moving towards productive action.
Bonnie Kim gets this to the root because she has experienced this nuance multiple times throughout all her businesses in several industries, such as restaurants, nonprofits, media, marketing, and now in coaching. She is often referred to as the secret weapon for impact makers and loves working behind the scenes and supporting those on the front lines leading with impact intentionally. This is why many of her clients refer to Bonnie as their Olivia Pope. Yes, Olivia from the Scandal TV show who solves all the complicated problems with grace and thoughtful strategies. And as she helps startup founders conform their performance-based identities to avoid burnout and lead from empowered and intentionality, she thought a lot about what is really at the root that makes certain leaders and teams thrive more than others. She wanted to hone those skills and serve leaders and teams now on this holistic picture of care, well-being, and resilience, because she has experienced what it was like to not have all of that and feel constant burnout as a driven leader before.
When I started my nonprofit, I was 24. I was going to grad school, had the energy of a 20-year-old. So, pulling all-nighters, I can do this, master's program and do this, managing this new nonprofit. And, I had a team of at one point 40 people to take care of while I was still going to grad school, which was very intense. And everything would just bleed everywhere. I worked nonstop, morning to night. It was like an amazing, addictive feeling. It just felt so fun. However, my body was so angry with me, but I just kept thinking mind over matter, push it through. And I've trained myself where my mind goes so incredibly fast to the point where my body at certain points just imploded. So the biggest wake-up call was in 2015 when I was still doing the nonprofit. I opened up one of the franchise restaurants. I didn't know why I thought that was sane. And then during that same year, I went through a very hard breakup and one of my family members passing away. So that happened in a very short time span of a few months. And at a certain point, I got into an argument with my father and I just mentally broke down. I was on the floor. I was convulsing, like I was mumbling gibberish, and I mentally imploded, and it was very scary. And then I had to go to the hospital. I got shingles. I kept having panic attacks and anxiety attacks. So for the next 2 years since that moment, anything that I tried to do that felt intense resulted in a panic attack or anxiety attack. And it was the most frustrating thing during that time, considering I've built myself up to have such stamina, such intensity, and yet my body is just constantly collapsing. So at one point, I decided maybe this is not the right way. Maybe I should try being kind for once to my body and kind to my mind. So those 2 years were pivotal in that I just went into all of these activities I found calming and very respecting and honoring to my soul. I did ballet. I went into painting, what I always wanted to do as, a closet artist. And that really taught me how to create space to honor my soul and not to think that output equates to my worth. So it did take 7-8 years of me not realizing, then a breakdown. And I would say 6 more years of making a cognizant effort.
Wow. I'm having goosebumps as I listen to Bonnie's reflection on this. I'm guilty of being there, where I let my mind drive what I think I could do instead of listening to my body. And how often have we led that way, not only for ourselves, but also of our team? I also appreciated the honest reflection she shared and how long this process took. Again, my Korean American genes want me to get everything happening fast. Pali-pali, as we say in Korean, is included in every sentence as a norm. As fast is the norm, but perhaps that's the very thing that's preventing me from fully seeing how I could take care of myself and my team better wholeheartedly, and with a longer view in mind. It got me curious to ask Jackie's perspectives too. Jackie, why do you really care about how your people show up and their well-being at work?
So I think about not caring, what that would look like, of coming into the office, logging into the computer, not really interacting with them, emailing them, not really like, here's your work to do, and then doing the work and not leaving the office, maybe going to lunch and coming back and then leaving at 5 o'clock. That is not fulfilling to me as a person at all. If I only get one lifetime, I want it to be meaningful and fun and impactful, and I want to do good things for people. And I think life is so hard. The struggles that people have at home and going on and things that I have been through, if I can lift that burden a little bit, that's, I think, what's most meaningful and impactful to me. Just because life is hard enough, I do not need to make anybody's life harder than it already is, because the outside world does that enough. So if I can create a good, safe place for people to be authentic and to maybe bring ideas to create new processes and things that they can be themselves, because I haven't always had that for myself. I love the idea of that. I'm not perfect in any way. And we are like a bureaucratic organization, and chain of command and mission are really important. But the great part about, they actually do work really well, because when you take the time to come together as a team and create that space, when you do go into a crisis and emergency and you are maybe communicating really short orders, that trust is established, and they know that, hey, this is not how I normally communicate. I am asking you some things that are really, outside of the normal, but they understand, and it works fluidly because that communication, that trust is already established. So anything I can do to make their lives better, because otherwise it's not fulfilling to me if I can't do that.
Yes! Create meaning for others. Life is short. Let the intention and drive help you identify how you want to support your team. It's never going to happen overnight. So this intentionality is so key. What about the skill of self-awareness? Bonnie, what advice would you share in how we could hone our eye of self-awareness so that we could be a better leader and be more intentional in how we serve and lead our team with care?
I might be biased here, but Monica knows this very well because we were both coaches. Please get whatever resources you can, including coaching. If you think about the ROI on that, one big decision that you might make, even micro decisions you might make, having somebody there to listen to you and then ask powerful questions, insightful questions, I think that's completely worth any investment. All those people's lives that you're going to impact, the trajectory of your company, that is completely worth it, in my opinion. So that's definitely one resource. Just have somebody who's trained, not just a friend, not just your family. They might give you moral support, but they're not trained in knowing how to listen or how to ask certain questions to evoke awareness. I would say the second thing is to focus on your own needs first. Sounds selfish, sounds kind of counterintuitive when you have a team and other people you have to be responsible for, but get your ducks in order. Make sure you are indeed exercising. Make sure the food that you're eating is not compromising the way that you think. Make sure you do take some time to sit down and just blank out for 15 minutes or think about one thing that you do appreciate. Maybe write it down. Keep your personal life in order so that any emergency, either from your company or other people, wouldn't start bleeding into your personal flourishing, and guard that as much as possible. I personally switched over from being very reactive to other people's needs, especially because I want to be responsible, to blocking that out, putting those boundaries up, and exploring what it is that I need to fully feel safe. How much of it do I need to fully feel safe? And to even question, am I making excuses? All of this processing done and then implementing that just a little every day has dramatically changed my life. Now I can make decisions from a very clear-minded place not reactionary, can make decisions from a very confident place where I know my own worth because I treat myself with worth. I treat my body with worth. And because I know that, when I see that something is encroaching upon my boundary or my personal worth, I know when to put that wall up and say, this is just not for me right now. So first one, get a coach. Second one, really have your own personal needs met first.
Yes! This is why the expression self-care is not selfish came to the surface, often among my coach and therapy friends. When we don't make space to take care of ourselves or know how to support our own needs, then how could we support our teams and have the energy to hear their pain points? We will miss it. So to invest in your team's well-being, don't focus just on the how and the tactics. First, think of why you want to do it and how you've taken care of yourself well too. What a timely reminder as we wrap up 2021 and welcome a new year very soon. Thank you, Bonnie and Jackie, for how you lead, serve, and show up with intention and care. Thank you all for joining us today to reflect and learn new ways of how we could rethink team well-being. I hope these conversations inspired you to find new ways to care for and thrive at work and in life. I hope you enjoyed today's show. This is your host, Monica Kang, founder and CEO of InnovatorsBox. I can't believe this is already our last episode of 2021. I wanted to thank you again for joining each week to rethink how we thrive at work at Dear Workplace. Please continue to share your questions and thoughts with us, and we look forward to exploring them. Hope you are taking a moment to add some more rest and recharge this week. And can't wait to see you again next week as we continue on our series in 2022. Enjoy our Pause to Wonder music also by InnovatorsBox Studios that you're hearing now and throughout the episode. Have a great 2021 ending and a wonderful 2022 start. See you next week.
Hi, I'm Kelly, a creative intern at InnovatorsBox, and I hope you're enjoying Dear Workplace. Right now, I'm finishing up my last semester at Berklee College of Music, and I'm so excited to live out this season's lessons in my impending music business journey. Wish me luck! This show is brought together by our awesome team, Sam Lemmert on audio engineering and editing, me on marketing, Akriti Pandey on website, Monica Escobar on branding, Leah Orsini on social media graphics, Sarah Piandelita and Flor on project assistance, and Luke Helder on music. And of course, Dear Workplace is hosted and directed by Monica Kang, founder and CEO of InnovatorsBox. To continue the conversation of reimagining the workplace, visit us at InnovatorsBox.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share. We would love to hear what you enjoy and what I can convince Monica to talk about in our next episodes. See you next week.
Hey, it's Monica Kang from InnovatorsBox. Thanks for watching this. I'm so glad you're here. I hope this inspired you to be creative, curious, and courageous. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to spread creativity for all. See you soon. and have a wonderful, magical day.